All right, Hotep, how's everybody doing? All right, hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. It is Saturday, September 8th, 2018, and we are live. We're here on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. All right, so September is going by quickly. September is going by quickly. And I'm getting ready for the All Black National Convention that's coming up September 26th through the 30th in Philadelphia. I'll be there, organized by Dr. Boyce Watkins and his group. But I want to talk about this crazy story out of Dallas, okay? And a lot of you, we've posted some articles about it. And I've been doing some research trying to get some more details on this story. And this is about a white female police officer who shot and killed an African-American man. His name is Botham Shem John. He's from St. Lucia. He was 26 years old. And she claimed that she went to the wrong apartment. Apparently she stays in this apartment building, and she claimed she had just finished working a shift. She was a uniformed police officer. This happened Thursday, September 6th, okay? And she claimed that she went to the wrong apartment, and he was there in the apartment, and she shot and killed him. So right from the start, this story did not make any sense, okay? The Dallas Police Chief, Renee Hall, did a press conference. Apparently her name is the initial U, Renee Hall. She's an African-American female police chief. She did a press conference on Thursday to give some information that they had at the time. Still, details were kind of sketchy. I watched that press conference also, okay? So I'm going to cite a number of different news sources here. I read articles from local news sources, Dallas Morning News, Fox 4, Fox Channel 4 in Dallas, also national news, New York Times, and news1.com, all right? So I'm going to try to share with you what we know confirmed at this point in time. Now, you have people on social media speculating about who the police officer is. I just checked news sources minutes before going live. There's nothing has been officially released by police. And since I am in media, I do radio on 910 AM, the Superstation. Here's my press pass right here. I'm a member of the media, WFDF 910 AM, the Superstation, Michael Imhotep. I have been doing radio long enough to know that you don't release names of people suspected of a crime until it has been officially released by the authorities. And I have seen people get their shows suspended in radio, even on the radio station I'm on, by making unfounded accusations and accusing people of things that they don't have evidence of. So that's something I don't do, all right? Okay, so share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in. This is a crazy story. We're going to give you the details as we have it based upon the time of this broadcast, all right? And a warrant is being drawn up also for the police officer's arrest as well, okay? All right, so let's look at the first article I saw, and it's one of the first ones was from Fox 4 News. Okay, so let's look at the reporting from Fox 4 News in Dallas. And my computer's running a little slowly. I have all these tabs opened up, so just bear with me here. I need to get a new computer. Okay, so this article was updated 9:44 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Friday, September 7, 2018. An off-duty Dallas police officer shot and killed a man after she walked into the wrong, after she claimed she walked into the wrong apartment in her building just south of downtown Dallas, Texas. So the shooting happened around 10 p.m. on Thursday, September 6th, 2018. The officer had just finished her 12-hour shift and entered what she believed was her own apartment at the South Side Flats in just south of downtown Dallas, Texas. The complex is near the department's headquarters on Lamar Avenue. However, it was not her apartment. The officer is a white female officer. This was, it being a white female officer was revealed by Police Chief Renee Hall in the press conference that took place, apparently I think the conference took place on Friday, September 7th, okay? And I watched 6 minutes, it appears to be the full press conference. It's about 6 minutes and some change, okay? I watched the full thing. All right, so responding officers found Botham Shem John, 26 years old. He's originally from St. Lucia, he's Caribbean, badly wounded. He was taken to the hospital and died a short time later, okay? And, all right, and died a short time later. Now, people who live nearby said they got a notification about the shooting on the app Nextdoor. So app Nextdoor is apparently an app that you can use to alert people of what's going on in the neighborhood, Nextdoor, okay? They can't believe what happened. So one of the neighbors said, quote, "I was sitting in my apartment. I heard a single gunshot followed by the commotion, yelling, kind of running, couldn't tell exactly what it was," said neighbor Elisa Kinsey. This was reported by Fox Channel 4 in Dallas, okay? She said, "I jumped up, went to my door, looked out the peephole. I didn't see anything, but I could hear a female calling 911 at that point," end quote, okay? Another neighbor named Richard Healy Nelson, who lives in the complex, said, quote, "Super scary because the police are supposed to protect you, and then they come home and you're just hanging out in your own house, and then they come home thinking they're home or whatever," okay? He said, "I don't know if she was tired, but that's pretty scary." All right. So when I first read articles about this, you know, the initial reports were, okay, the officer used her key and she thought the apartment was hers and somebody else was in the apartment. So I'm saying, well, wait a second. Okay, I live in an apartment. I've lived in an apartment for 10 years, a little more than 10 years, my own apartment. And I said, well, wait a second. My key is the only one that works in my apartment. So I said, this is not making sense, okay? So during a press conference, Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall asked the community and the media for patience and cooperation. She said, quote, "Right now there are more questions than we have answers," end quote. That's true. She said, quote, "We understand the concerns of this community, and that is why we are working as vigorously and meticulously as we can to ensure the integrity of this case," end quote. And she said she requested that the Texas Rangers, for transparency, because this is a member of the Dallas Police Department who allegedly did the shooting. She said, for transparency, she asked the Texas Rangers to come in and handle this investigation, okay? As CNN reported, an arrest warrant is being drawn up for her, drawn up for the officer's arrest. The police chief said once charges have been filed, the police officer's name would be released, which is standard procedure. I did a Google search right before I started this broadcast for any updates, and there's an update from USA Today, okay? Article from USA Today posted about an hour ago, because this is a very fluid story. and there are going to be updates. So I'm going to try to update you on credible information as it comes out. Okay, a bunch of hearsay, conspiracy theories. She's in a picture with him, so maybe they had a relationship. All that stuff could be true, could not be true. I've been doing radio I've been doing radio for 8 years. Okay, and I've seen a whole lot of stories, and I've seen stories where on social media people release names and come to find out that's not who did it. That's not what happened. Okay, so that's why I'm very careful. I'm not just somebody on social media. Okay, that's why I'm very careful in what I say, what I present, how I'm not new to this at all. All right, so let's do this. I want you to hear the press conference that Police Chief Renee Hall gave, chief of the Dallas Police Department. She's an African-American woman. I want you to hear what they said. So let's turn this on. Let's get this going. And just bear with me a minute here because the computer is running slowly here. I got about 100 tabs open in Firefox. All right, need to upgrade my computer. All right, let's see if we can go with this here. Just stand by. Okay, it's about to start. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your Facebook page. You probably won't get this type of reporting anywhere else. All right, let's see. Okay, this is about to start. All right, so Chief Renee Hall said in the interest of being as transparent as possible, she has invited the Texas Rangers in to take over the investigation. That's a good move, okay? So far, they have drawn the officer's blood to test for alcohol or drugs. They have done this, and they are in the process of getting a warrant for manslaughter, okay? So the officer is going to be charged with manslaughter. All right, let's see here. Okay, we should be able to start.
My condolences to the Bottom Shem King family.
All right. And I'm trying to see why the audio is so low. Just a second here. Why is the audio so low? All right, I have another source for it. We'll because the audio is too low there. We'll go to the other article that has the press conference in it. Okay, so we'll get that up for you. I tested the other one and it was much louder. All right, so so here's what the police chief said at the press conference, and then I'll let you hear some of the press conference. Initial indications were that we were dealing with an officer-involved shooting. However, as we continued the investigation, it became clear that we were dealing with what appears to be much of a very unique situation, said Police Chief Hall, who is an African-American woman, by the way, okay? Therefore, okay, hold on. Okay, so at first they thought it was a police-involved shooting. Then they found out it was something of a different nature, right? Now, in an article from news1.com, they cited Shaun King. Now, Shaun King is a Black Lives Matter activist. Shaun King writes for, I think it's the New York Daily News or New York Post. He does commentary on the Tom Jordan Morning Show also, okay? Shaun King posted on Twitter, SHAUN, okay? And Shaun King is usually right on a lot of these things. He writes articles, he has sources, okay? Shaun King talked about how it was a key fob, F-O-B, that was used to try to gain entrance to the apartment, okay? So a key fob is like a little keypad. It's like a little device, and it's electronic. You put it up to a pad to be scanned, all right? So, and he said that it kept flashing red, all right? So coming onto the premises of where I live, we have a key fob. We put it up to the scanner, and it turns green to let you in. The arm goes up like when I'm driving in. And if it's not working, it flashes red. Okay, and you see something similar when at hotels. A lot of hotels, they have the hotel access card, right? And you put it up to the scanner, it turns green to let you in, it's red to it flashes red if you don't have access for entrance. So according to Sean King in the article from news1.com, it said that the scanner kept flashing red. Okay, because when you stay in an apartment, you're the only one supposed to have access, right? So apparently what happened was, according to Sean King in the article from news1.com, Botham Shem John then came to the door and opened the door. The white female officer is there and she shoots him. He's wounded. He's taken to the hospital and dies at the hospital, okay? So there's a number of different problems here, all right? Because on the apartment doors is an apartment number. Now, I've lived in an apartment. I've been at this complex for about 10 years. I live in downtown Detroit, okay? Ground zero for gentrification, by the way, okay? Ground zero for gentrification. And on all the apartments is a number. So out of all the thousands of times that I've gained access to my apartment, I've gone to the wrong apartment, I think twice in 10 years. And I've been tired coming back home, coming from out of town, coming from work, things. I've been tired, you know, back when I used to work in a call center. I've had, you know, so a few different jobs. I've been tired. There's a apartment number right on the apartment. So in about 10 years, I've gone to the wrong apartment like twice and actually put my key in, about twice, okay? And then I quickly realized, okay, this ain't working. I look at the apartment and I was like, oh, okay. I'm like one floor down or one floor up. So this story sounded fishy from the start. And as more details come out, it sounds fishier and fishier, okay? As more details come out, it sounds fishier and fishier, all right? So if we look at the article from New York Times, Dallas police officer kills her neighbor in his apartment, saying she mistook it for her own. Dallas police officer kills her neighbor in his apartment, saying she mistook it for her own. Now, first of all, I don't remember cases of white people being accidentally killed in their own apartment like this, number one. But it's something deeper to this, okay? It's something deeper to this. And it says, after completing her shift on Thursday, the officer went to her apartment building across the street from the Dallas Police Department's headquarters shortly before 10 p.m. But the officer, who was still in police uniform, did not go to her own unit and instead tried to enter the residence of a neighbor, Botham Shem John. She then shot him, the authorities said, okay? Now, Police Chief Hall said, we were dealing with what appears to be a very unique situation. She said at a press conference on Friday, September 7th, she said, right now, there are more questions than we have answers, all right? So the police department asked, and the police chief asked the Texas Rangers to handle the investigation. And the Texas Rangers are the state's top law enforcement agency. Chief Renee Hall said that the officer had been questioned only when officers responded to the shooting on Thursday night, September 6th. While the officers took a blood sample from her to test for alcohol or drugs, investigators have been unable to further question her. At the time of the reporting from the New York Times, this article is from September 7th, since the New York Times does not put the timestamp on here when this article was posted, I don't know what the hell time this article was posted. Even though it's a good article, New York Times, please timestamp, please put a timestamp on these fluid stories. You should know better than this, okay? So the chief of police, Renee Hall, identified the officer only as a patrol officer who is white, and she said it's a female also, because I saw the press conference, saying that the officer was not in custody at the time of the press conference, and that she did not know her whereabouts. Within hours of the shooting, there was an outpouring of grief for Botham Shem John from Dallas from Dallas, Texas to St. Lucia, which is his home country in the Caribbean, as well as demands that the officer be charged in his death. Now, as CNN reported, the officer is going to be charged with manslaughter, and I think the chief of police stated this also. Now, Botham Shem John was born in the Caribbean and later moved to the United States, where he graduated in 2016 from Harding University in Arkansas, Harding. He was active on campus and in student groups, including as a member of the Good News Singers, the university said on Friday. That appears to be a gospel singing group. So with a booming, soulful voice, Mr. John often led the group in songs. Bruce McClarty, the university's president, said on Friday that he recalled when he asked Mr. Botham Shem John, S-H-E-M, Shem John, J-E-A-N, in 2014, to sing a hymn at a major event at Harding University, which is associated with the Churches of Christ. Mr. John agreed, but later confessed that he had said yes without actually knowing the song. Dr. McClarty said, remembering Botham Shem John, he said, quote, he called back to St. Lucia and asked his grandmother to teach him that old hymn on the phone. He shared it with us at a lectureship that night, and it was a truly special moment. Okay. Now, Botham Shem John moved to Dallas, Texas after college, after an internship at the accounting firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers, formerly known, it's called PwC now. It's formerly known as PricewaterhouseCoopers. This is one of the big, I think there's 5 big accounting firms now. Used to be 6 when I was in business school. It used to be 6 20 years ago, okay? But and we called it Price Waterhouse, then it became PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now it's known as PwC. He joined the company full-time in July of 2016 in its Dallas office, the company said. He was currently a risk assurance experienced associate, okay? So he worked in risk assurance. A spokesperson for PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, said in an email, quote, this is a terrible tragedy. We are simply heartbroken to hear of his death, end quote. Now, Botham Shem John was a member of a prominent family in St. Lucia. His mother, her name is Allison John, was a senior official in St. Lucia's Ministry of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations, and Sustainable Development, okay? She's a senior official in St. Lucia's Ministry of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations, and Sustainable Development. A family friend said that his mother, Allison John, could not comment on Friday because she was receiving chemotherapy treatment. One of Botham Shem John's uncles is the chief executive of a regional water utility in St. Lucia, while another uncle, Earl John, played professional soccer in Europe and on the island's national team. Okay. Now, his uncle Earl John wrote on Facebook on Friday, quote, how can this nasty world take you away from me? This is the worst day of my life thus far. All right. So that is from New York Times, good reporting from the New York Times, written by Matthew Haig, H-A-A-G. Please do a timestamp when you post these articles for a fluid story, New York Times, please, okay? If we look at the article from news1.com, and News1, also News1, it says 21 hours ago, please post the damn date and the time. Now, they did post the time. It was updated 5:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, but they don't have the date. So it was September 7th. It says 21 hours ago. How hard is it to post the date, please? If we look at the tweet, they cite the tweet from Sean King that I referenced earlier. How's everybody doing? We'll come to your comments in just a minute here, and I'm going to try to play the audio of the press conference that the police chief gave. Sean King tweeted, update, police now say this cop used a key fob, F-O-B, to enter the wrong apartment. Instead of flashing green and unlocking it, flashing red repeatedly. When Botham opened the door to his apartment, She unholstered her gun and shot him dead immediately. Okay. Okay. Now that's inaccurate. He did not die there. According to reports that I'm seeing, he did not die on the scene. He was taken to the hospital and died at the hospital, possibly on the way. Okay, he was taken. The New York Times is reporting he was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. Okay, so according to reporting I'm seeing in different sources, he did not die immediately there at the scene. Okay, but it appears that there was no struggle. All right, this is why when I do this, I've been doing this long enough to know to look at multiple credible news sources. So I read articles from Dallas Morning News, Fox 4 Dallas, New York Times, USA Today, and CNN, okay, and some other news sources as well. So let's see here. I want to look at some more from news1.com. Police said an arrest warrant was expected to be issued for the officer, according to ABC News. I read the article from ABC News, abcnews.go.com. It was unclear if the officer knew at the time of this writing, it's unclear for a fact if the officer knew Botham Jean. It's possible she did, but I don't want to get into possible relationships and things like this until it's been confirmed. And he lived in the same apartment complex as she did. It was also unclear how the officer came to mistake John's apartment for her own. It's possible it was not a mistake, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and things like this at this point, okay? Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall said on Friday, at the very early stages of this investigation, initial indications were that they were what we consider circumstances of an officer-involved shooting. However, as we continued this investigation, it became clear that we were dealing with what appears to be a much different and very unique situation. All right. Now, the original story, as reported by news1.com, then we're going to go to some of your comments. Share this broadcast on your Facebook page. The original story from news1.com was that an unidentified police officer who was off duty entered John's apartment, thought it was her own, saw John and fatally shot him, according to NBC News. And they cited NBC News. News One usually they're usually citing, NBC News, Washington Post, New York Times, or local news sources. Okay, they usually don't do, in general, firsthand interviews. Just so you know. Okay, this is not an attack on them, but usually they don't do firsthand interviews. And once again, when I first heard the story, I'm like, okay, how did she gain access to his apartment? Was the door already open or what? I'm trying to figure this out. Now, Dallas police issued a brief statement about the tragedy that arguably involved implicit bias. And the statement said, in part, it's not clear what the interaction was between her and the victim. Therefore, we have ceased handling it under our normal officer-involved shooting protocol. A blood sample was drawn to test the drugs and alcohol. We are in the process of obtaining a warrant, and we have also invited the Texas Rangers to conduct an independent investigation. Okay, that was the original reporting from news1.com. We're going to post some of the links of these articles here on the thread of our broadcast also, okay? All right, so let's go to some of your comments here. And everybody, I forgot to tell y'all, African-American business owners, post the name of your business and website here on the thread of our broadcast as well. And we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network on the podcast of our radio show, our broadcast, etc. You can email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. But African-American business owners, post the name of your business and your website here on the thread of the broadcast, okay? All right, let's go to some of your comments here, because you all have been commenting up a storm. We've got, we've got Damon, Paris, check Black Lives Matter, Houston, okay? If you have some information, post it here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll try to vet it and talk about it. Nisha, officially the wife, Hames. Okay, don't know what that's about, officially the wife. Congratulations if you're officially the wife, Nisha. Proves they knew each other. Cameo Brunston, Charles Rivers, thank you. I've shared it. Okay. Responding to Nisha. Okay. They have a conversation going on. Kizzy. Mark Briscoe said, bottom line is, this is a black man dead. How many more of us going to die? And let me just say this, okay? If this was a situation where they knew each other and had a relationship, and I'll probably do another I will do another broadcast about this. If that turns out to be the case, I don't know for certain here. If that turns out to be the case, this is another example of brothers leave white women alone. If that turns out to be the case, yeah, I said it. Okay. Mark Briscoe, the pictures are out in the domain. I've seen the pictures, but I don't want to speculate on the pictures. The reason why is because usually places I go when I do lectures, just like in San Diego a month ago, people ask me to take pictures. I take group pictures. I don't know everybody in the group. I may know one person in the group, but I don't know the other 3 people in the group in the picture. So I don't want to speculate on the picture. Okay. That's why, because I'm telling you, I've been doing this long enough to know that you go by credible information. I took group pictures in San Diego about 3 weeks ago when the African World Festival took place. Okay, I took a couple pictures with more than one person in the picture. I don't know everybody in the person. I don't know everybody in the picture that I'm taking a picture with. People ask me to hear my lectures. I did 2 lectures there. I was on a panel discussion. I actually moderated a panel discussion. People asked me, can I take a picture with you? I obliged them, okay? Just because I take a picture with somebody, most of the people I take pictures with, I don't know who they are. They tell me their name, but prior to that, I don't know who they are. And if it's a group, right, most of the people in the group, I don't know who they are. So it could be true, or it doesn't have to be true. This is why I'm careful about the information I put out, okay? I saw pictures that were reported to be her, and he's in the picture with her, with some other women. So we need to deal with facts and evidence here. I don't deal with a whole lot of speculation. Alita said, yes, okay. I told you, I did a lot of research on this before I came on here. Gary said if she approached the door and stuck her key in the door and light turns red, that means it is not her apartment. That is common sense for residents. Okay, so if it's a key fob, it could not be her apartment, or there could be a problem with the key fob. That's happened to me because we have a key fob to gain access to the parking here, because I pay for parking. And even to come onto the premise, when you drive your car up, you have to go through the gate. So I've had situations before where my key fob was acting up and they had to replace it. So just because you go to your door and the key fob doesn't work, it may not be your apartment. It may be something wrong with the key fob. I've had that happen. But on every apartment, there is an apartment number. Okay? So this is why I do a lot of research before I come on here. And I don't talk about a whole lot of opinions. I deal with facts and evidence as best as I know it. Just because it turns red, it may not be your apartment, or it may be something wrong with your key fob. I've had it happen, and I had to take it to the leasing office. They had to replace the key fob. Something happened to it. It was malfunctioning. I've had that happen. Okay, so it could be, doesn't have to be. All right. You see my approach is different than a lot of other people whose videos you see, because my background is different. I've been doing radio 8 years, okay? Like I said, for those just tuning in, this is my press pass. I'm a member of the press. I do radio here in Detroit, 910 AM, the Superstation, WFDF. You hear my radio show Sunday nights. We broadcast live on Facebook from the radio studio, the African History Network show. Okay, okay, let's go back to your comments here. And we'll see if we can get the, what was the other, computer's acting crazy, trying to get the other, I want to get the other clip for you. Okay, but let's go to some more of your comments here. He was on a gurney when they first took him out the apartment, and EMT on his chest doing CPR. All right, that was Charles. Tasha said, Charles, will you make the video public, please? I'd like to view it. By Mine said, so they had time to clean up and close all her social media accounts before she was identified. What evidence are you citing of that, Vi? They closed all her social media accounts. They had time to clean up. What evidence are you citing of that? Margaret, being pronounced dead at the hospital is very vague. It could mean dead on arrival, either killed at the apartment. From what I'm seeing, he did not die at the apartment. Damon said they already posted pictures of them together. Who is they, Damon? Who is they? You said they posted. Who is they? And then who identified that that's her? See, so was this on her social media account? Who identified that that was the officer if it hadn't been released by the police department? This is what I'm saying, because I've seen times where this goes wrong. I've seen talk show hosts get suspended from the radio station because they're putting people's names out and they're accusing people of things that they have no evidence of. I've seen this take place. Okay. They have him walk from his door to the emergency down, bleeding and pain. What are you talking about, Keisha? So the assertions that people are making, it'll help if you post some evidence to back up your assertions. All right. Okay. All right. So, and post the name of your African-American owned business here on the thread of the broadcast as well. And we'll give you a shout out. And you can advertise on the podcast of our radio shows. We're on 6 different podcast platforms: iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, Castbox, Acast, FM Player, TuneIn.com. We reach thousands of people on a weekly basis. And we have a special promotion. Your first month, you get 50% off. We can record a commercial for you if you don't have one. When you listen to our podcast, you hear the commercials there. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Okay, so Vi Mine said Black Lives Matter Houston posted photos. Okay, so where did they get the photos from? Okay, how did they verify that this is the officer who actually did the shooting? Let's see. Taken out on a gurney as seen on video clips by a bystander. Okay, so he was taken out on a gurney. That means he was on a gurney. That means he wasn't walking. He was on a gurney, because somebody else said, oh, he was walking in pain. Okay, unless they have video of him walking and being put on the gurney. Okay, so she shot at him close range in the chest. It appears he was shot close range. Don't know if it was the chest, but it appears he was shot close range. Mara said there was a post 26 minutes ago on Twitter, Instagram, that Dallas PD put out a warrant for her arrest, and the Texas Rangers removed it, citing she was being cooperative. Okay, I have to look at that. I know CNN reported that a warrant was going to be put out for her arrest. Now, if she's being cooperative, here's the thing. If she's being cooperative, if the Texas Rangers are saying there's no need for a warrant, okay, that means that she's there for questioning. You put the warrant out for their arrest to bring them in for questioning. If she's already there for questioning, you don't have to have a warrant out for their arrest. Okay? You put the warrant out for somebody's arrest because you don't know where they are and you need to bring them in. If the Texas Rangers are already questioning her, then you don't need a warrant for her arrest because she's already there and you're already questioning her. All right. So it's going to be interesting to get the facts of this, and this is what I deal with. Okay, it's going to be interesting to get the facts here. A resident, so by mine said a resident of the apartment also had videos showing her on the phone crying in the hall. Yeah, I read something about that. Okay. I'm pretty sure she was crying. Now, I wonder if she called her union rep while she was there crying also. I'm not saying she did. I'm just wondering, because I've heard of this in different cases, calling the union rep. So I wonder if that took place also. All right. Erica Watson said she should have been in custody from the jump. Stacey Williams said, where is she now? Well, when you have a shooting, a police shooting, there's a process they go through. Something else, and as they're investigating, they find out it's something else. This is why the police chief, you gotta see the you have to see the press conference that the police chief did on Friday. This is why they said, okay, once we start investigating this, we found out this wasn't like a regular police involved shooting. So that's why she said the warrant was going to be drawn up and the officer would be charged with manslaughter. Okay. Mandy said the important thing is that we don't forget about our brother Botham when the next hot story comes out. Yeah, that's true. And that's why I gave some background information on Botham to humanize him and give details about who he was in his life, because he was a human being. And oftentimes in police shootings, we'll find out about the officer, but we only find out negative things about the African-American person who was killed, okay? And there was an article that Huffington Post Black Voices had a few years ago that, and I think I have the article here, and it dealt with how when you have police shootings, it dealt with, they looked at news headlines from across the country. And what they found is that oftentimes when you have white killers or white people suspected of killing, the media will go out of their way to show how out of character it was for this person to commit the killing, okay? But when it's an African-American person who is the victim of being killed, the media goes out of their way to go in their background and try to justify why this person was killed. So they say, well, this person was in and out of jail for years. This person was on drugs for years, okay? This person, went to anger management. When it's an African-American person who is the innocent victim, oftentimes the media will go out of their way to dig into their background and try to make excuses of